Another day on Capitol Hill with no vote on infrastructure and no deal on a bigger spending package. But as Lisa Desjardins reports, President Biden made a direct appeal to Democrats.
Not an everyday sight, a president on Capitol Hill. And the goal of President Biden's visit with House Democrats today, to get his agenda back on track.
I'm telling you, we're going to get this done. It doesn't matter when. It doesn't matter whether it's in 6 minutes, 6 days, or 6 weeks. We're going to get it done.
House Democrats began this day fractured still over whether to go ahead and hold a vote now on a $1 trillion infrastructure bill.
We're working through these issues, and I believe, as we always do, we're going to land the plane.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi had promised to call a vote, being specific with reporters yesterday.
Are you committed to having a vote on infrastructure today?
Yes.
Regardless of whether you have the votes or not?
I intend to.
But the day ended with no vote. Some House progressives, led by Pramila Jayapal, remained firm holdouts, seeking more commitments on an even larger bill covering climate, health care, and other priorities. Jayapal stressed a handshake deal isn't good enough.
I have consistently said that we need a vote in the Senate because I want to make sure that there are no delays, that there are no mix-ups, that there are no mixed understandings about what the deal is.
But the fate of that larger so-called reconciliation bill also hinges on moderate Senate Democrats, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. Both say it must be smaller than what progressives want. Amidst it all, some House Democrats said they wanted more from Biden.
The time is now. He has that singular power to unify.
So he could be doing more at this point?
I think he can be doing more in front of us. Yes.
Very few of us have seen the president in the 9 months he's been president.
The White House has said Biden is engaging and had been making calls to Democrats around the clock. He scrapped a planned event in Chicago to focus on finding agreement this week on the Hill.
And Lisa is here with me now in the studio, along with Amna Nawaz, covering the White House today. So hello to both of you. Lisa, looks like a lot of action, but no clear movement toward any vote. Where does everything stand?
I do not think there will be an infrastructure vote tonight. There will be a vote on something else, though. In that infrastructure bill was a reauthorization for the Highway Trust Fund. That ran out last night at midnight. So Democrats have to deal with that. We expect a 30-day extension of that. There's no real problems from a day lag in that or a few days lag in that. They will take that action. But overall, Democrats now are doing something that one member said there is redoing the conversation from scratch. I want to talk about this issue about Pelosi's promise to have that infrastructure vote today. She said that yesterday. Let's figure out what happened there. I want to explain this to people. For you and I, Judy, a day is 24 hours. That seems very normal, right? But however, there is a legislative day. And here Pelosi is talking about something that can go on indefinitely. We are still in the legislative day of September 30th in the House of Representatives. A legislative day can go on forever. In fact, one time, the late Senator Robert Byrd had one go on for over 100 calendar days. So a little bit of a Jedi mind trick there. I think that Pelosi is pulling. We'll see if she actually ends this legislative day and says we need more time. When you talk to members, it is clear that the president's visit tonight was a huge morale boost. And moreover, it provided clarity that they needed from him that he is still on board both of these bills, moving at the same time, not one in front of the other. That was important clarity that members didn't have.
And speaking of the president, Amna, we were hearing some Democratic members expressing frustration there that the president hasn't been as visible on this. What is your understanding of just how involved he is right now?
You know, when you ask the White House, where has the president been? They said, well, he's been very involved. The White House has been involved all along. They point again and again to a team of senior advisors and senior staff who they say have been in close contact with every group and every faction of the Democratic caucus. Here's the group that they point to. We've seen them before. They are leading the charge on Capitol Hill. Susan Rice, of course, leads the Domestic Policy Council. Ron Klain is the chief of staff. Brian Deese, who heads the Economic Council. Louisa Terrell, who heads Legislative Affairs, and Steve Ricchetti, of course, who's a senior counselor to the president. The White House says, look, many of them were on the Hill till midnight last night. Since September 1st, there have been over 300 calls and meetings with members and staff directors. They say we've been making the case, we have been there, we've been involved. But today, they say, and Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked about this in the briefing, today was the day President Biden felt was the day to go make the case directly to those members, reassure them we will get there, compromises will be reached, they have to be made, both sides have to give a little, no direct timeline. timeline, but he wants to reassure them they're moving forward. He's committed.
Well, one of the things that's become clear is that it's not going to be a $3.5 trillion social spending bill, whatever the name of it is, reconciliation. It's going to be a number lower than that. What are you hearing from the White House about what they are willing to live with?
So, of course, we are pressing again and again, trying to get a number from them. What are you comfortable with? What do you think the president would sign off on? The two names we heard more than any other names in the briefing today, Senators Manchin and Sinema. They know they have to get some kind of guidance from them and at the same time reassure progressives that big agenda is going to move forward.
And Lisa, finally, back to you. Where does it go from here if you don't expect a vote tonight? And what does this mean for the Democrats? I mean, this was their chance to put their stamp on what's going to happen in this country.
It's even more clear today, Judy, that this is really the beginning, the earnest beginning of negotiations. And at this beginning point, where the conversation is behind closed doors, I have sources, and Yamiche has reported this before too, the conversation seems to be around $2 trillion to $2.5 trillion. Even some progressives said that maybe they can accept something in that area. Of course, there is a big conversation about then what is it that gets cut? That's what they're going to have to do soon. But I think for the next week, it is going to be about what size that both sides can perhaps get their hands around. Probably not a firm number, but somewhere in that $2 to $2.5 trillion is what we're talking about right now. I also was going to say, it seems like this has been a chaotic week for Democrats. Speaker Pelosi pledged a vote. That vote didn't happen. That's not good for a speaker. But I want to remind people that the Affordable Care Act took over 8 months to get through Congress. And on that vote, the Affordable Care Act in the House, Democrats lost 39 of their members, and they still passed it. Here, Speaker Pelosi can only lose 3. That's why this is so much harder. And the Affordable Care Act was also difficult. So this is really threading the tiniest of legislative needles. But I think I have to say, I was convinced by both progressives and moderates today that they are talking more in unison. They're moving towards similar goals. Once they get down to the details, it's going to get hard again.
But of course, they've known all along how tight this margin is.
That's right.
So we will see. Lisa Desjardins, Amna Nawaz, thank you both.
Welcome.